Yo, it's your girl, Ninja Yoyo. Thank you guys so much for tuning into this virtual Photoshop workshop. If you guys don't know me, nice to meet you. So here's a little more about me. I've been cosplaying since 2013 and I got more into the social aspects of cosplay in 2018. My actual career is a senior graphic designer. I've been doing that since 2015. Both my bachelor's degree and my master's degree are media related, and I've been doing graphic design for over 10 years. I'm lucky enough to be able to fuse the two of my passions, cosplay and graphic design, right? Because there's so much awesome things you can create, and it's just really cool to be able to see how they can both influence one another when it comes to posting and editing and stuff like that, or even some of the stuff you create. Some of the stuff I create in graphic design software like Illustrator, Photoshop, and then I use that to make the physical tools that I need, or props or something like that. So, all that being said, I by no means am an expert on any of this stuff. It's just stuff that I've kind of stumbled into along the way. So I do graphic design, but photography is not a huge thing that I do. So like I said, I'm not an expert, but hopefully that means these tools can actually help you, because maybe you're not an expert either. So if I say something wrong or do something a little off, bear with me, but you'll see that here in a little bit. I am constantly learning and evolving in both realms of cosplay and design, especially, right in 2020 with the pandemic and everything. It's a crazy time. Everything's changing. Events, cons, and of course, by that, cosplay. If you're anything like me, you've had to adjust your content over the past few months in order to fit the new normal. And I say that meaning what to post, how to keep it fresh, how to keep it new, things like that. I've had to brainstorm over and over and over again on how to keep my social media fresh, funky, spunky, while still generating that new content. Especially since we're missing out on attending awesome conventions in person. I mean, the virtual stuff is really great and I'm so thankful for it. But physical, literal cons, they're a huge resource to create content. Whether you're vlogging or you're doing photo shoots, meetups, whatever, it's just beneficial for everybody that goes in more ways than just the fun part of just going to a con. The photo shoots in particular are kind of things that I stack on to make sure that I have enough stuff to get me through the off season, or when cons kind of trickle down and slow down, I still have plenty of content. But of course, pandemic hit right around the time con season started, so I have not had a whole lot of that, so I had to kind of think on my feet, so to speak. So it's needless to say that since not that many events and stuff like that are cons, I grabbed my iPhone and started taking pictures in my house, in my bedroom, doing what I could do just to keep my page going and to still fulfill my creative outlet of generating new content. Of course, your iPhone and your bedroom wall or wherever you are taking your pictures, they're not the best tools for outstanding grade A photography. No matter what you do, it's still a smartphone photo. It's nice, but it's still a smartphone photo. But I learned along the way that there are some quick and easy Photoshop tools that you can kind of jump in and kind of do pretty quickly without having to just kind of know exactly what you're doing. You could take a photo like this and turn it into something like this. Like I said, we're not going to get super crazy. There's a bunch of things you can do in Photoshop. I'm just going to show you some of the basics and kind of what I would consider a workaround to just getting some editing done without throwing a bunch of filters on stuff, because filters kind of take over everything, versus some of these tools I'm going to show you kind of nitpick certain elements. It's just going to be a few key tips and tricks, very minimal photo manipulation. I'll show y'all that later. We're not going to get too crazy into some of those crazy effects, but just some little bit, just to enhance your smartphone photo without throwing all those crazy Instagram filters and whatnot. Because once you start kind of doing that, then your photos kind of is kind of the point of no return. So let's just hop right to it, shall we? All right, guys. So here are some of the optional items you can use for this tutorial. I say optional because it's possible to follow the steps without some of these things. However, these are the tools that I will be using. For example, I just started using a larger ring light recently. Before that, I used a really small one that clipped onto my iPhone, which did all right, but actually it didn't quite light it the way a traditional ring light would. So I actually ended up using it like next to it or behind it to kind of generate some different shadows and things like that. The larger one that I use that comes with a stand, it is great. Before then, I was using a bunch of boxes and books and laundry baskets to make kind of a stand for my phone, and trust me, never again. Like, it's a small investment compared to, you know, getting actual photography equipment, and you can kind of pack it up and take it kind of with you if you do find yourself, you know, wanting to go like in front of like a brick wall or something like that. As far as photo editing software, you can always use a free editing software. There are several out there. You can also use an older version of Photoshop. Some of the things I will be showing you are Creative Cloud based, but a lot of it still does the same thing, right? So you should be okay there. All right, folks, away we go. Keep in mind, this is a screen recording and it is sped up. By no means could any human actually work this fast. I mean, we're not all Barry Allen, right? If you can look at my photo here, I definitely suggest you take a photo in front of a blank wall. We're going to be playing with some backgrounds and some colors and stuff like that, and taking it in front of a blank wall will make it so much easier when you're cutting yourself out or doing different effects like that. Okay, so what you want to do is open your photo and then save it immediately as a copy. This is always good to have your original go back to. Name it whatever you want, just keep it consistent in case you make different versions like we will be doing later on. From there, we're going to duplicate your photo as a new layer. I do this for a couple of reasons. One, I need to cross-reference and go back to the original, like turn the layer on and off. It's just good to kind of know where you're heading, if it looks better, if you need to go back, if you did too much. And then two, to keep my own self from over editing. We're all guilty of it. We all start playing around and thinking, oh, this looks dope. We did this and this and this, and we got flaming eyeballs and all this crazy stuff. And my eyeball is like 5 times bigger, and then it looks crazy. So by having like that original step back, you can kind of look and say, okay, that's fine. That's not too much. Because going subtle and being subtle, it goes a long way, especially in web, because you can change something like 2 pixels, and it will show up, especially like on a screen like an iPhone when people are on your Instagram and stuff like that. It'll show up pretty quickly. Next thing you want to do is click Filter, Camera Raw Filter. Normally, this is the workaround I'm talking about. Normally, this one tool would do wonders for a photo taken with a super nice high-end camera that has raw parameters for optimal editing. Of course, that's super great, but like I said, right now, we're in a crunch. We just got this iPhone photo. We just want to do whatever we can. So you can still use it. It of course won't pick every single different value and hue and parameter, but it will still do enough that you can just almost use this one tool and it'll get you about 80% to what you need in order to enhance the photo. After that, this part is pretty funny. I'm sure there's a logical way to go about this, but I just prefer to yank around some of the tools, just in case I surprise myself with a really cool effect. But for now, we're really just going to focus on temperature, contrast, and clarity. Basically, these are the things that'll make the photo appear more balanced. There's some other tools in there too. It's kind of on the upper half of the screen that you could play with that'll also help keep it balanced. We're not going for any super crazy special effects right now. We're just trying to simply enhance the photo to look slightly better than what it already is. So we'll go back to some of those other tools later, because in New Creative Cloud, there are a lot of tools right here in this one window. But doing that right now might cause some of that over editing that I mentioned before. If you see here, I click between the original and what we have. The photo looks better in a lot of ways. On, off, on, off, on, off, on, off. If you feel that something is off, undo it. Control, Command Z, whatever. You can always go back. We're on just step 1, right? It's okay to try again. Keep remembering to save the file as we go along. You will see me mess up a couple of times on this by saving, but the more you save it, the better you're off, because we've all had the computer crash and we've all lost our way. So definitely keep remembering to save. Next is enhancing this bland wall. This part is really fun for me because you get to play with color. But first things first, let's duplicate our current layer. If you're unlike me and you are organized, name the layer, so that way you know what happened on that particular step. But once again, I'm not that organized. Next, if your version of Photoshop permits, you can then select the subject. After selecting the subject, you can play with the outline of your selection to make sure all the main parts are selected. Or you can manually adjust it with a paintbrush once we add the color. You might need to invert your subject here as well, and use the select and mask tool if you really just need to get on there and kind of make sure you got everything. But since we're using a soft brush, once we start doing the color, it's kind of easy to kind of go in and erase and stuff like that, and you don't have to be as exact because we got a little bit of shadows and stuff like that. I'm taking a look at my selection and I think everything I want is selected. We'll confirm this, and then, like I said, I needed to do, inverse the selection so that the background is selected. We're not coloring our bodies, we're coloring the background. You may wonder why I did not just delete the background here. I would do that, but I prefer keeping the natural background so that I don't look like a cardboard cutout. Once again, I'll show you how some of that can begin to look later on in the video. All right, time for another new layer. This is where we get to play around again. I'm going to start by changing the layer transparency to soft light with 75% opacity. Sometimes the color transparency works best, and sometimes a lighter or heavier opacity works. We'll see how that turns out as we play along. I'm going to pick a matching color for the background. Sometimes it's fun to pick a contrasting color, but for now, let's just start with blue. Pick your paint bucket or paintbrush tool and fill in the selection. And I'm going to get really kind of in there, zoom in a lot, and see what we got going on. So let's zoom in and check to see if we need to adjust any blank spots or any spots that kind of dip into me, my person. Like I said, I like to use a soft brush to color in. It's okay if the color dips into things like your hair, or in this case my fur, because ultimately we do not want a white halo, as I call it, or outline around your body, because then it does look a little too fake. All right, boom. Now we can play to see how some of the other colors work. We can do this 2 ways. We can go create a hue saturation layer. We can create a color or gradient overlay. I'm going to keep it simple, and I'm going to slide around the hue saturation scales under image. You'll see me once again yanking around, seeing like that's too much, that's too not, boop, 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 boop. See if I want something crazy, pink, contrasty, or if I want to kind of keep it matchy. And, or sometimes I just go gray. Sometimes it's okay to make it kind of, more simple. At this point, the photo could be good to go. It's pretty much, you can save it and post it and go on about your business. But I do want to show you a couple of extra tools that are just going to help as far as general knowledge. For example, really quickly, I'm going to change the color of my eyes. I cannot wear contacts at all, like at all. So I personally find no issue with going in and doing something quirky, like changing my eye color, adding quote unquote virtual contacts, because I really can't. I mean, there's just nothing, there just is what it is. Of course I can leave my eyes as well the way they are, which I do sometimes. It's just a fun thing to do, especially in this case because this character has multicolored eyes. You just want to see me play around here. I just basically pulled in an eye, like I think a green eye or something like that, and then doing something like we did earlier. I made a color layer to kind of color the colors that I wanted to color, and here I'm just gonna erase my background, lower the opacity, maybe set it to screen or overlay, whatever kind of works out here, blur it a little, and then boop, I'm just gonna let it be what it is because that's just where we're at. And I think it doesn't look half bad, so we're gonna roll with it. Now we're going to apply some more of those raw filters that I mentioned earlier. This is more so for aesthetic purposes than trying to make the photo actually quote unquote better as before. So we're going to select all, and then we're going to copy and merge the layers, and then we're going to paste it. There's multiple ways to do this. This is just the way I do it. Now I have basically a merged photo to play with. It's basically all the edits we've done so far and just combined it, so I'm only applying it to this layer. So we're gonna play with some other tools here, such as saturation, vibrance, split tones, which is was not always under this raw feature, and I think is really fun. We're getting to the point where the photo is to our posting point. Like I said, this is aesthetic, so you can kind of do what you want here. Remember, subtle might be better, but hey, go for it. See what you like. You can play with noise filters, like that's that grain texture that a lot of people are doing now. You throw a little bit of a vignette on it. I've done it on a few of my more recent posts if you want to take a look. Like I said though, subtle though. You can get real 80s glamour portrait really fast. So just kind of see what you like. The cool thing about this, you can always repeat this step. You can always like go back, like you already had it copied, so just paste another of the previous and then edit that, and then you compare and you can change opacity of the layers if you want to kind of merge the two and keep going. You can kind of see, well, I like this one, I like it when I do this, and once you get to where you are, then you're good. Great. Now it's time to export. There are different sizes for Facebook, Instagram, etc. Today, I'm going to show you how to export for portrait or vertical size for Instagram. Create a new document with the dimensions of 1080 pixels wide by 1350 pixels tall. Next, we're going to embed the photo we just created and resize accordingly. There might be some extra space there, or you might want to fill up the space with your photo. Just do whatever lends better to the composition of your photo and your pose. You can also fill in that space with another photo or a photo of the original character. For me, I'm going to add a photo of my character in the corner by pasting the image and removing the background. Or in this case, I found one online with the background already removed. This has a more professional and seamless look than a traditional side-by-side, but both work just fine, and personally, I do both as well. I just usually initially post the one with the little character. The last thing, and keep in mind this is completely optional, is to watermark. We can do this a few ways. You can place a logo, or you can type in your name or social media handle. I'm showing you a few different ways right now. I'm going to put my logo in the corner here and reduce the opacity to not distract from the actual photo. Okay, of course this is just me goofing off here just to show you that you can do a lot of stuff in Photoshop, and you can do, as I keep calling it, over editing, over shopping yourself. Of course, you can go into Liquify and make your eyes all googly and big and do all kinds of crazy things in there to your face and your body. I would just say skip it unless it's just like something super pertinent to the look, or if it's something just like, I mean, if you just really want to do it, go for it. But, you know, just be cautious on how nutty things can get as you're playing around in this software. Let's get ready to wrap this up. Let's export the photo or the image for web as JPEG or PNG. Personally, since I just do a lot of design and stuff, I just do PNG, but of course I know photos, JPEG's usually the way to go, but I'm going to export it for web as a PNG in this case, set as a 72 DPI. That way it's kind of exactly the parameters that Instagram states. I can double check my sizes here, and which we know should be right, but of course this screen lets you check too if you go about exporting this way, and boom, we're done. I prefer to post separately across platforms. So if you like, you can repeat this step with different size templates as shown here. Because like I said earlier, Instagram could be kind of weird with their portrait size, for example. Awesome, I'm happy with it. By no means is it super professional, like I said, but it is better than a simple selfie. Plus, it's something you can say you did yourself. Using these tools, you can get really nutty by adding overlays, effects, and colors as you have seen. I like to keep it simple, but feel free to put your own style on it. There you have it, folks. I know this was a super quick tutorial, so please do not hesitate to email me at theninjayoyo@gmail.com with any questions you might have. Also, I'd like to give a huge shout out to Mid-City Microcon for making this workshop possible. Be sure to check them out all day August 29th on YouTube for panels and workshops like this. And if you want to see your girl, Ninja Yoyo, be sure to tune in that same day for the Mid-City Microcon cosplay contest. Lastly, please be sure to follow your girl Ninja Yoyo Cosplay at The Ninja Yoyo on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. You can also email me for any media requests. I really appreciate all the love and support. Stay dope, remain fierce, and keep it awesome. Bye!